It's Friday. All right. You know what that means? BOMAC Talk. BOMAC Talk is a BOMAC multimedia discussion hosted by Urbanetectonics LLC. These discussions align with Urbanetectonics LLC vision and mission. Our vision is the firm's vision or plans long term are to build the best frameworks, centralized constructs that enhance economic hubs and support business ecosystems. Our mission, the firm's mission or our calling, is to conserve business constructs and preserve business owners, managers, and administrators through the implementation of quality management systems, right? So, BOMAC Talk, if this is your first time tuning in, BOMAC Talk is a discussion for owners, managers, and administrators to receive insights on technology and business operations. We focus on helping organizations navigate digital transformation and master project management to achieve long-term sustainability, right? So our core pillars of discussion, the subject matter, we dive into system integration, business automation, and future tech trends. A major focus is our 10 core areas of assessment and service, which we encourage our owners, managers, and administrators to take annually or quarterly to audit the health and of their business or organization and delegate effectively. We use our own product and share our own results on BOMAC Talk, right? So this BOMAC Talk session will cover Core 1 operations, or will cover subject matter in Core 1, not the whole thing, but subject matter in Core 1 operations. Core 2, we'll be talking a little bit, we'll touch a little bit on hybrid human and AI capital. Core 7, boundaries, that's our safety and security division, or not division, safety and security assessment and service. Core 8 is technology, and Core 9, asset life cycles, right? So we'll brush upon any one of those core areas during the next BOMAC Talk session, a series of sessions, right? So the discussion is informal, casual, where we share raw insights, lessons learned in the trenches. However, we don't rely on gut feel alone. We use AI and systematic empirical data to stress test these personal experiences. This allows us to move past anecdotal biases and provide you with high integrity, data-backed solutions. And as we indicated in the last BOMAC talk, the knowledge, data, and thought leadership we feel is shifting. We believe AI is revolutionizing knowledge management. We've always talked about knowledge management and how to handle when the intellectual property or different training modules or different pieces of knowledge, making sure it's passed on. If someone gets sick, someone leaves, someone gets promoted, that you're able to transfer necessary pieces of information to the person that is coming in. So always talked about that. Adding to that conversation, as AI is revolutionizing how we do knowledge management. Our goal is to help you bridge the gap between that human intuition and objective, repeatable measurements, right? So ensuring your business transformation is built on a foundation of facts and not just our interesting stories, right? We love telling you our stories and our experience and what we're working on. So who should join? Our content is tailored for business owners, managers, and administrators, those who are in a leadership position, who are looking to simplify organizational complexity and optimize their workflows. And how do you connect? On Urbanetectonics LLC YouTube page. Right now, that's if you click the videos, you'll get our pre-recorded sessions. Click live for any of the live sessions. They are 1 hour. We are recording 2 1-hour sessions on Friday, which are working sessions for us. We're both BOMAC talking it out. The subject matter, we're BOMAC talking it out. I do listen to myself. I like to hear myself talk, as they say. And uh, click shorts to get the highlights. So if you're just trying to get a highlight of that hour session, you can click shorts. We upload some highlights there. So you can kind of get the gist of what the content um, is, or some of the um, insights that we are offering, right? So beyond the string, I'm an active member of over, I thought it was a dozen, it's 30 30 or more entrepreneurial groups. And the count went up as groups are forming around AI, groups are forming around our gaming, groups are forming. And we already were a part of groups in terms of industries, specific groups. So um, as we are engaging, we're bringing those collective insights back to you into BOMAC Talk, and then some of our service and product offerings as well, right? So where all else fail, where all else may fail, you can always go to the Urbanetectonics LLC hub. That's our website, and start there. Go to multimedia and work your way to our YouTube page, or go to the bottom, social media icons, and work your way to the YouTube page. All right. So that's how you find the BOMAC Talk. Any versions of them, if you're looking for a particular subject matter, you can always put that in the search engine at the Urbanetectonics YouTube page, and um, find content that way. And you can subscribe as well. Right. So um, we have been reintroducing ourselves, kind of doing a reintroducing ourselves tour as the great silver tsunami is now taking place. Generational succession plans are moving into alignment. And so we will pick up new owners. We are picking up new owners, managers, administrators whose needs and management style may differ than the previous owners, managers, administrators, right? And so, and this happens through normal organizational matriculation too. So you may not know me, so let me introduce myself. You can call me Tammy. I'm managing, I'm a managing member at Urbanetectonics LLC. I have over 3 decades leading in high pressure, male dominated arenas, from architecture, engineering, construction, facilities, education, technology to ministry. I've built a reputation for being rough around the edges, but fiercely effective. I'm an anti-debt, fully bootstrap operator who lives by one mantra: every project must pay for itself, right? So that's the idea. And so, as a seasoned project manager of different types of work and project teams, I've created valuable IP, built long-term investments, and excelled in fast-paced industries while often being the only female and the only woman of color in the room. So I don't just speak with confidence, I lead with it. All that is built on deep roots and intentional work towards wellness, staying in community, and building my faith, right? So um, that's the snippet of about me, right? And so last we spoke, there were celebrations in our target market and client groups for Small Business Month, right? So it's been a lot. National Safety Stand Down Week, Teachers Appreciation Week, um, Public Service Recognition Week. We had Mother's Day and school district and university graduations and Memorial Day weekend. So um, we talked about, I think it was Administrative Day and Administrative Week, and um, some other celebrations earlier in the month, right? So Urbanetectonics acknowledge and celebrate all the colleagues, clients, and professionals who are owners, managers, administrators by profession and or by role. We celebrate you, right? And we acknowledge the importance of these observations and we celebrate with you. All right. So, um, happy, happy, joy, joy. We're celebrating with you. Okay. So, um, today's session or the, the next series, um, that we're getting into. It's called Digital Identity and Asset Lifecycle, right? And so let me build the context for this, um, so we can kind of place this, where it needs to be, in a mental model, place the mental model where it needs to be, right? So let's set the context, and relative to the conversations we're going to be having, because lots of this is it's not sexy conversation. It's like blah 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 tech stuff. Blah. I'm there. I'm there with you with that. But this is the work we have in progress or that we are moving towards, right? So um, we are in full operation. Services and products are available as they are, and they have AI capacity already built into them that can be utilized right now. But there'll be continued upgrades as we move towards a new era of the management consulting in industry and at the firm. So when we say work we have in progress, there's no need to wait. If you want to um, acquire services available, products are available today, right? To purchase and to utilize in your organization as an owner, manager, or administrator, right? So just want to let you know that. But yeah, there is work that we have in progress, and some of this work that we'll be both Mac talking in this next series and sets of episodes um, are our working sessions to both Mac talk it all out, right? So um, let's start with in where we kind of pick up in this conversation, right? Because this is not a new conversation for us. We've talked about digital identity and we've talked about asset lifecycle management. We wrote a book about it. So in 2017, we wrote a book called The Universal Language of Asset Lifecycle Management, right? And now that we are in the AI age, we have to, we are updating and revising our outlook on some of that material and how it's applicable in a hybrid situation and in the age of AI. And so since we have to do that work anyway, we're just going to Mac talk it out, right? So if you aren't familiar with our previous work uh, in asset lifecycle management in terms of the book, the class, the videos, and the certificate, I'm just going to peruse through that really quick so that you can kind of take a gander at that and kind of have that in your mind's eye as to what that is and what to look for and what that looks like, right? So, um, okay. All right, so I'm sharing my screen. This is the Urbanetectonics website. You'll see if you go to education management, the following links that I'm now going to show you are in the line of education management. So all of our books, classes, videos, certificate programs, workforce development programs are in the education division, right? So um, you'll see if you go to, in that education division is called Gamma Learning. Gamma Learning, we've had that name for more than a decade. Um, and the Universal Language of Asset Lifecycle Management is in the first four books, the first series of the Universal Language of Management series, right? So we have the book, the class, some videos for discussion, and then you can get a certificate. So this is, I guess, if I do it in order, um, let's see here. I'll do it in order. Okay, so this is the book, right? So this is the book. We authored this book in 2018. We actually wrote them 2016, 2017, actually published it in 2018. Right. So it's been almost a decade that we've been talking about this. And so the Universal Language of Management Asset Lifecycle has its own playlist. And so you can kind of get some audio and some look at those videos to kind of see what the content of the book, some of the subject matter of the book, and then you can actually get a certificate in that area, which we call the Integrated Systems Management Training Certificate, right? So we call this the Integrated Systems Management Training Certificate, right? And so Gamma Learning has a set of classes for um, the Universal Language of Asset Lifecycle Management. So we go through um, we have a course listing for that as well. And so Gamma Learning has, this is its AI powered questionnaire for the 10 Core Challenge. You can also follow Gamma Learning on LinkedIn. There's a brochure, kind of outlines some of the um, um, educational consulting um, services. All right, so just wanted to, if you are new to the conversation or the conversation we've been having in that area, um, it's a quick way to get updated because we're going to be springing from that. So 10 years later, right, 2025, we started looking to organizational hybrid human AI um, design, right, organizational design. And so the organizational design, and this will kind of change. And you can also view this on the YouTube page. It's not considered by us as intellectual property just yet. So because we're still working it, BOMAC talking it out and working it through, right? So you can go to our YouTube page and put in hybrid human agentic organizational structure and kind of check out what we're talking about or where we are starting from um, in that conversation. Um, lots of colleagues, we see lots of colleagues um, posting their human agentic organizational structure, and that's cool. Um, and we had our kind of our first drafts um, last year, and so that's where we'll be kind of modifying those and building from. is uh, that initial draft, right? So let me go through just some tidbits about this initial draft, and why digital identity now is up for conversation. The reason digital identity and asset lifecycle is up for conversation is because of the efforts to create a hybrid human and agentic organizational structure, right? So because of this, we're having this series and this conversation, right? Just to talk it out, right? So um, these are um, this is kind of just the executive leadership layer. We have three. Most of our uh, internal infrastructures are three-tiered. So we have the executive committee, advisory board, um, then the management team level, and then support. And so this is kind of just reiterating that. Um, and then ideally, um, each industry would have its own manager. Um, and this is showing what that might look like. That's not, each industry doesn't have its own manager. Um, each industry does have its own division. And now we're kind of looking at um, whether or not how we how we want to operate each one of those divisions. And I don't know if it's going to be a manager or if we're going to separate those divisions into their own companies and they have actual um, different founders, right? So we've put a call out amongst our colleagues about individuals who are interested in partnering as a founder in some of the industries. Um, so then our business relationship manager program and an independent sales representative, still a work in progress as to the human capital that will power that. And so then this is a look at um, the different areas of service where we would have human capital um, work happening, and then the AI counterpart, the work that AI could do. So we talked about this in the last BOMAC talk, where there is an area of genius where you need um, a human to do the work, and then there's work that AI can do. And so this is kind of a this particular study is looking at the different areas particular to our organization, to Urbanetectonics, where we could have human capital versus AI or agenic capital. I'm going to call it. Um, and this is going to the support systems, our knowledge management system, our data analytics, how we do that, B2B, B2G, B2C, channel management, which is very applicable to us. And then going to the areas of management, the managed services, right? So one of these is that's the managed services. Managed services, let's see. Don't see one for all the consulting services. So I have to look at that again. There may be some overlap between the managed services and because marketing, we don't have managed services for marketing. That's a 10 core area. So this is uh, AI modification. That's not correct, right? So, um, but in any case, this is a draft. It's a draft. And so at that time, because this is like a year old now, um, we had the transition of how uh, the framework and the process as to how we would transition into um, a hybrid situation, right? Training, having the capacity to train individuals, and then having that systems architecture in place. So we're right, um, industry specific AI modules, AI 10 core. That we're kind of still right in here, um, creating that AI systems architecture, right? So um, uh, for us, because frameworks is what we do. If you uh, listen closely to our mission and our vision, infrastructure is what we do. So AI systems actually, I believe, is coming first before we even filter anyone through them. So we'll test it out first, put in this new system architecture and the governance framework, and then human deployment or capability development. Some of this will be happening probably simultaneously because, like I said, as we update learning materials to reflect AI options, um, that training material would become part of our systems architecture as we um, facilitate service and products and updated services and products in those areas, right? So yeah, um, lots of work to be done. Lots of work that has been done. Glad to see that. But lots of work still uh, ahead. Exciting work, right? So, um, if you have seen our um, 10 core, so that's the second area where, the first area is the asset lifecycle management, learning materials, like we just indicated, that needs to be updated. Then secondly is um, in terms of core two, when we start talking about hybrid, human, and AI capital, um, these conversations we need to have first to make sure um, we are able to manage the digital identity and the assets that are produced, right? Um, and then thirdly, uh, why this conversation is so important that this year we are producing AI products, right? We have AI agents and lots of additional assets and digital identities, right? We have front desk agent, research agent, a coding agent, marketing agent. We got video, talent agents, and all of those things are producing digital assets. And as we are able to produce more, we are accumulating more um, uh, intellectual property, as to say, or digital asset property, right? So, um, in the uh, in the working session of the architecture of creativity, that was the last session of, I think it was last Friday, was the last post. Stradalurian Core 8, and even Com development as we are producing AI products and AI generated products. Um, those digital assets um, uh, have to be managed, have to be managed, and their life cycle tracked, right? So, like for instance, and I am a probably digital asset, digital, what you call a hoarder, pack rat. Yes, because we have all that. All right, so um, if you have been with us for more than a decade, you've seen this graphic, which was the original Take the 10 Core Challenge graphic, right? With the Google form, then you go there and click all the links and you get all of the surveys for all 10 core, right? And then share your results. And this assessment help you move into the service. So if you've been following our feed for more than a decade or so, you've seen this graphic, right? So we still have it. We're a digital hoarder. So we still use it. Hey, it still looks good, right? It still looks good. But it has an AI, it has been powered by AI. And so it's getting an upgrade. The 10 core challenge, it has gotten an upgrade. And so when you go to the website, you are able to um, send your survey, um, the send the survey in a better automated format, right? So it's we can get the results quicker, faster, over the 10 core as a whole, right? So um, what does that look like? Let's see. Let's go to the website here. And these outer circles, uh, when you click those, these are AI powered. So as you are clicking these, answering those questions, then you can submit that. And then um, it will file everything under your name. So it doesn't matter which one of the managed services or the consulting services. Um, you can click here as well, and you can see the Core 6 has a new AI powered form, and it will match your name, email address, or number and send us whether it's consulting or managed services. So that's a little different than previously. Um, New and improved thanks to AI. Thank you, AI. Right. So um, that's just one of the changes. Um, as we kind of reviewed in bomaqtalk the last session on last Friday, um, Cube Engineered Solutions, which houses the technology behind the AI powered 10 core challenge, is getting an upgrade. And so as we are doing that, you can follow that on the Cube Engineered Solutions website, right? So um, those three initiatives, you know, since we have these three efforts that puts this work, to the forefront, we have to work through this anyway. And we see a lot of AI consultants posting their hybrid organizational structure on social media. And we're like, yeah, we got that. We know that. And it's great to see that. Um, we thought we should share our approach and strategy, offering insights into how we are tackling these different areas of focus, right? And our position, our process, and strategy may change, as we grow and understand more and learn more. But we can discuss some milestones from where we've kind of been foundationally, and then kind of where we're going. Um, so this BOMAC talk is great foundational groundwork to building this human and AI agent hybrid organizational structures and the frameworks, right? Because that's what we do, infrastructure and frameworks. Gotta frame it, macro to micro. Um, so uh, how is this conversation relative, right? So kind of great question, great question, great question. How is this, how are you going to connect it? How are we going to connect the dots, right? So um, it will connect directly to everything this series will cover. Here's how the two will map onto each other, right? So the series is actually the governance foundation that makes hybrid organizational structures possible, right? So a hybrid human AI agent organization where AI agents hold roles, execute workflows, own outputs, and act alongside humans cannot function without solving um, exactly what the series covers, right? So here's the through line by episode, right? So we have the episodes titled and named by F1 Talk A, F1, or that's Friday, the first Friday, Talk A, first Friday, Talk B. Um, let's see, do I have that in? Let's see. Um, Friday one, Talk A is what is a digital identity? The AI augmented asset ecosystem, right? So we're going to kind of talk that through. We're going to get into that talk today. Today's the first Friday. And then the talk B, that's the second hour. The life cycle begins. It's titled The Life Cycle Begins Creation, Onboarding, and AI Provisioning Risk. If we are able, we'll get through that today, right? So then the second Friday, that's next Friday, new month, new Friday. Talk A will be active governance, uh, privilege creep, AI permission drift, and the usage problem. So we'll BOMAC talk that through. Friday two, or second Friday, second hour, um, second Friday, second hour, the modification problem, transfers, AI context carryover, and data leakage. Right, we're just going to talk about it. And then the third Friday, first hour, offboarding, ghost accounts, AI agents. Then the second hour on that third Friday, we're going to talk about retention, retention and um, uh, destruction and post-employment AI footprint, right? And um, there's also a conversation about when someone in this area, and I'll have to plug that in. Um, but I experienced this. If you are sick or someone passes away, all of their digital identities, um, who owns that, right? Who owns that? How do you manage that? Are you able to manage that? Is it, and how do you transfer that those types of that type of knowledge, and how do you manage the who has access to your digital identity should you somehow um, not be able to manage it yourself. So uh, that should be covered also there in the third Friday, second hour. Um, and so those are that's the breakdown of the series of what we hope to cover. That's what we hope to cover, right? And so um, a hybrid human AI agent organization, right? Um, the through line by episode. First Friday, hour, first hour, the asset ecosystem in a hybrid organization, AI agents are not just tools. They are identity bearing actors. They hold credentials. That's category one. Did I go over the categories? I did not. Okay. Yeah. So, um, before I, the episode arc is F1. We'll abbreviate it like F1A, F1B. That means first hour, second hour, F2A, F2B. That's the second Friday, first hour, second hour, right? So let's uh, kind of breeze through the categories. We'll talk about them in more detail, but just so I'm trying to set up this context. And the more I try to set up, the more I have to explain. So it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky here, right? Because it's all interrelated and kind of overlaps. And so once you get into one area, you're like, okay, I have to set the groundwork for this. And then you like go into one area, you're like, oh, I gotta set the groundwork for that. Um, and so I hope that reads well. These are the revised categories with AI, right? With AI included, meaning that the previous already existed with human capital. But now we're introducing AI agency, and so these categories are being revised based upon that. And it's not comprehensive. It's a work in progress. Um, so, so those who are studying this, um, there are organizations who are studying this, and that's all they're doing is studying this. So, um, uh, yeah. So, um, the revised four categories. When I talk about category one, access credentials plus AI agents. So, as we are ComCore 8, we'll have passwords, and we're looking at um, securing it, not with tokens, but maybe a dual authentication system. So we're looking at that uh, for that product, right? So category one talks about access credentials, and um, these are the types in the first row, and then the risk in the second row. What's the big deal about it anyway? Unauthorized access. People getting in there doing what they're not supposed to do, or the system um, uh, operating in a way that it shouldn't. Category two are the work products plus AI generations. These are the deliverables, those assets that are so we're creating more of. Um, the risk there, and we're seeing that as AI is pulling from different places, uh, that's why it's so important to get your specific information in there so that it doesn't give you these general, you know, general generic output that everybody um, can get or can have. And with that, there can be intellectual property contamination from public training data, copyright, model poisoning, model inversion, right? So there's some problems there with work products and AI generations. And so that's category two. Category three is their communication trails, email, email archives, Slack, Teams, logs, um, the chat box. You know, we got AI chat box, we got a regular chat bot. Um, the recordings, everybody's recording their meetings now. And so the legal risks and the privacy, confidentiality of those. Then category four, corporate footprint, AI logs. This would get into HR, payroll, human capital audits. Um, automation has already, we talk about recruiting and all those types of things. There's already some risk that have been identified in using automated and AI in uh, human capital and employee acquisitions, right? So those are the categories. So let's say category one, because I was about to say category one, and like, okay, I didn't even talk about the categories. Um, okay, and that did not. Um, okay, can't see that really good. So to modify that. But the first one is creation. Okay, yeah, it has to be created in order to identify something, it has to be created first. So the first section, um, if I can update this and make it fit. I think I made it bigger. I just needed to make it smaller. Yeah, I did. Just the opposite. Okay. All right. Well, in any case, let's go back here while I work on that graphic. Um, but the gist of it is the AI augmented life cycle creation, usage, modification, um, deprovision, where it departs, that it exits, and then retention. Um, and this can include the scheduled deletion, archiving it, or, my the hoarding activity happens at the end where you don't want to let it go because you might want to use it. It was so good. It took you so long to make and you just uh, can't delete it. So you end up storing it somewhere. Um, or having duplicates of it. That's what happens with us a lot, is that we have duplicates of a lot of the digital data. Um, which causes it. Let's see if I can. All right, moving on. Moving on. Um, wanted to show that one time, or at least try. So you have a graphic of it, and that way, if I refer back to it again, you just go to your neat little graphic. Go to a neat little graphic. So it's always good to have a graphic of it. Because then you can circle back and say, okay, what was that again? And so there it is. Yay, got it, finally. Okay, so uh creation, usage, modification, deprovision, retention, right? So first column, activities um, that are common, whether human, um, human digital identities. And then the second column is the questions that arise, the problems arise as you start to work through AI, um, the AI piece of that, adding that to the conversation. All right, so now you get your nifty diffy graphic to refer back to. Okay, so the through line by episode. That's where we were before, and before that. So a hybrid human AI agent organization where AI agents hold roles, execute workflows, own outputs, and act alongside humans cannot function without solving the digital identity and life cycle asset life cycle management piece, right? So um, here's how this is relative episode by episode. So first Friday, first hour, we're talking about the asset ecosystem, right? In a hybrid organization, agents are not just tools, they're identity bearing actors. They hold credentials, category one. Generate work products, that's category two. They produce communication trails, category three, and accumulate operational logs, category four. The 8 subcategories aren't just about human employees anymore. They describe the asset profile of every node in the organization, whether it's human or AI. A hybrid structure requires a governance model that treats AI agents as identities, not instruments, right? So um, then the second hour title, uh, subject matter, um, will cover creation and onboarding. In a human-only organization. Onboarding is a human event. In a hybrid organization, agents are onboarded too, provisioned with credentials, scoped access, should be scoped. Definitely be scoped, but that's the boundaries, right? The boundaries, set up the boundaries, that's safety, security. Defined roles and output ownership policies, right? And so the role access blueprint and the AI ownership policy, um, uh, from the session, the second hour of our first Friday, talking about this, apply directly to agent provisioning. So the over provisioning trap is more dangerous for agents than humans because agents act autonomously at machine speed the moment access is granted. Right. You can say stop. It's like doing stuff and you may not even be able to see what it did. Um, Second Friday of this series, first hour, F2A, second Friday, first hour. Active governance, this is where hybrid organization design gets operational. Um, this is where hybrid organizational design gets operationally complex. Human employees accumulate privilege creep. AI agents experience permission drift. In a hybrid structure, both could be happening simultaneously across every node. The using AI to audit AI workflow, right, um, from F2A is not just a governance technique, it becomes a core organizational function, right? So um, the AI layer auditing itself continuously, surfacing anomalies for human review. That feedback loop is the nervous system of a well-designed hybrid organization, right? So using AI to audit AI. um, Then the second Friday in this conversation, second hour, we were talking about modification and role changes. In hybrid organizations, agents are reassigned between projects and clients just like humans. The AI context, the AI context carryover problem, prompt library contamination, vector memory bleed, note taker archive access is an agent reassignment problem as much as a human transition problem. The bilateral, the bilateral transition protocol from um, uh, modification and role changes becomes the standard procedure for rotating any node, human or AI, between engagements, right? So um, resetting, not just getting on board on a new project, but resetting to own a situation or when a modification or a role changes, right? So um, then Friday, the third Friday, first hour, um, we'll be talking about AI agent orphaning is fundamentally a hybrid organization design failure. It happens when AI agents are deployed as functional team members, but not governed as organizational identities with defined life cycles. In a mature hybrid structure, agents have the same offboarding process as humans, credential uh, 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 revoked, having credentials revoked, asset inventory, context handoff, successor assignment, the AI agent registry from deprovisionizing or deprovisioning is not a security tool. For us, it's still safety and security. It's the organizational chart for non-human layer of the organization, right? And so uh, these digital identities or agentic identities should have defined life cycles. And this will happen as, for us, as different versions are upgraded, right? So Miss Hoarder Pack Rat, of course, I'm gonna have all the other previous versions right there saying, okay, this was version one, version two, version three. We might even name them that way so that I can kind of keep a track of them. Um, but as uh, identities are upgraded, or agents, AI agents are upgraded. Oh, I feel like the Matrix up in here. Then the previous ones um, will have to be um, archived. And how do you actually do that, right? Um, Third Friday, second hour retention, post-employment footprint. In a hybrid organization, this stage raises a question that is new. AI agents institutional memory after it's decommissioned, and that's yeah, the, the vector memory, the prompt library, the fine-tuned weights. These are the agent's accumulated knowledge. Um, and post-employment sub categories apply directly to retired agents. The training data contribution problem takes on a new dimension. If decommissioned agents' behavior patterns were used to train the next generation of agents, what are the continuity and liability implications of that, right? And so um, the bigger structural implications um, is that the series implicitly defines what a hybrid organization needs that traditional organization design doesn't address. So, an identity layer for agents. Every AI agent needs the same life cycle governance as a human employee: provisioned, monitored, transferred, offboarded, and archived. A dual organizational chart, one showing human roles and reporting lines, one showing AI agent roles, permissions, and ownership, both governed by the same asset lifecycle framework. Both are governed by the same asset lifecycle framework, right? A continuous audit function. The governance calendar um, becomes an operational rhythm, not an IT task. Because in a hybrid organization, the access and permission landscape is changing constantly across both human and AI nodes. A clear ownership architecture, the AI ownership policy becomes the constitutional document of the hybrid organization. Who owns agent outputs? Who owns agent developed methodology? And what happens to agent IP when the agent is decommissioned or replaced, right? So um, the bomaqtalk theory um, doesn't use the language of hybrid organizational design, right? But it is structurally the governance playbook that makes hybrid organizational uh, uh, hybrid organizations governable, right? So, maybe the next series could build directly on this one, taking the identity lifecycle framework and applying it explicitly to organizational design as we improve it, role definition, and the management of mixed human agent teams, right? So we've kind of put this in context as to why we're talking about it, because it's not sexy stuff to talk about. And I'm going to get tongue twisted all the way through here because um, it's there's some new material here that we're still processing internally. Um, and even as we are presenting it uh, to you for discussion, right? So um, this is the this is the task. This is the task. This is the task, right? So um, now that I've put all that in context, that's the context. That's just the context of the conversation. We haven't even got into conversation yet. So, what we're going to do is that we are going to start our first Friday on the first Friday of June, right? So, we'll get started into the different pieces episodes of the digital identity and asset lifecycle on the first Friday um, of June. Okay. All right. So um, that's our BOMAC talk for today. We'll reconnect on next Friday. You have the schedule, you have the episodes, um, uh, you have the links. All right.